on Home Factory, we spin a yarn about a rug.
Then we find out what makes a clock tick.
And take a seat on a famous chair.
But first, we take a quack at a bubble bath. Oh, yeah.
The ultimate bath time companion.
I am so listening.
Meet Ducky. He's hatched here at Celebriduck's 21,000 square foot facility in the Bronx, New York, a rough and tumble neighborhood that's just filled with too cool for school New Yorkers and rubber ducks.
Okay, so and who are these two here?
My name is Alan Backelman.
I'm Mike Backelman.
I'm his father.
I'm his son.
Family business, huh? I'm sensing some tension.
Welcome to my world.
Oh,
Sorry.
you're walking home tonight?
Well, one thing they agree on, they love rubber ducks.
What's not to love? They keep things in perspective. I mean, no matter how bad things can get, just look at them. It's hard to be worried about stuff when you're looking at rubber ducks, right?
Jody Davis, a director of marketing for Celebriducks, certainly thinks so.
Celebriducks takes us back to our childhood. It's purity, it's innocence. Heavens, it's a bubble bath. I mean, what gets better than that? So, and they're yellow, they're happy.
And apparently there's a lot of happiness to go around.
Over the years, we probably have made several millions of rubber ducks.
So we'd better get quacking.
Really? We're going there?
Uh-huh.
Okay. 400 grams of liquid yellow plastic is poured into duck-shaped molds, which are then placed in a rotational oven to harden.
The rotational oven is a bit complicated for you and me, but Mike has come up with a handy comparison.
Think of an Oreo cookie. People do this when they twist their Oreo cookie open. That's what the two plates inside are doing. They're turning like that.
This means the inside surface of the mold is coated, leaving the inside of the duck hollow.
And the ducks are cooked at a temperature of 150 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes.
Quack, quack.
I'm thinking that quack means the ducks are done. When the ducks are cooked, they're pulled from the oven and plunged into a cold bath to cool them down in preparation for the extraction process.
This is a little delicate, but let's just say the ducks are pulled from their molds bottom first.
Looks like some of them get stuck.
Sometimes.
Looks a little undignified.
Yeah, it's the only way to do it, unless you want to sculpt every one of them.
Extracted ducks are brought here for buffing and trimming to get rid of any excess plastic.
Then the smooth, polished ducks are ready for painting, which goes a little something like this. Orange beak. Work it, ducky! Work it! White eyes. Black pupils. White highlight. Polish. And done.
This is Lizzie.
And that is her duck face.
Lizzie's going to tell us about duck painting.
We have to keep the duck in the row.
Lizzie and her team can paint 2,500 ducks in just half a day.
Wow. Painted, polished ducks are brought to Myrtelina in quality control.
She's inserting 50-gram weights into the duck's undercarriage,
Ooh, saucy.
which will make them float, which is important because...
Well, because you want them in the bathtub, they gotta float. All of the Celebriducks are weighted on the bottom. You throw him in on his head, he will go upright. Now that's a rubber duck.
Which is why Myrtelina conducts this highly scientific float test to make sure they don't sink.
Dead duck. If they don't float. Dead duck.
Dead duck. The surviving ducks are sent to be packaged.
First, they're individually wrapped. Then they're boxed and sealed, ready for distribution to, well, mostly Jody.
I must have at least maybe 300 rubber ducks, which isn't a lot at all.
No. Not a lot at all.
This is the duck that I designed. This is my quilting rubber ducky. And then this is one of my Dixie duckies.
Well, okay. Is it weird that I now want a whole bunch?
Celebra ducks are shipped everywhere because we want to spread the love as far as we can.
People should buy rubber ducks because I have kids to put through school.
Well, then it's good news that in homes across the country, there's basically a pandemic of rubber ducks tumbling into bathtubs and emerging phoenix-like from the bubbly depths.
Turns out rubber ducks are all they're quacked up to be.
I knew you wouldn't be able to resist. Behold, the Braided rug. A uniquely American product, this rug ties an entire room together.
It certainly does. From Colonial Mill's 70,000 square foot facility in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, these rugs are made from 100% USA sourced yarn.
This is Colonial Mill's founder, Don Scarlatta. And these are his kids, Greg, the VP of Sales, and Meredith, the Creative Director.
Hey, Greg, Meredith, what's it like to have your dad as a boss, huh?
Want me to leave?
Yes, Dad.
I'll leave.
Are you too scared of your dad?
Not anymore.
No, not anymore.
It's okay. He's gone. It's all right.
Well, we grew up not really wanting to be in the business, to be honest with you. Going to work for your father was probably the last thing I wanted to do.
Especially knowing how meticulous our father is.
Yes. I'm known as a neatnik. I mean, Mr. Organization, right from the top to the bottom. The way I operate, the way the factory is kept, I like everything in its place.
Well, it's obviously a system that works because Colonial Mills manufacture around 200,000 rugs each year. And each of those rugs starts its life right here, where raw yarn is held on giant spools.
That yarn is taken to the winding room, where it's unwound onto bobbins to create unique color blends.
Yeah, this means combining different colored threads to make one multi-hued thread that will be used in the final braid. Gilberto is in charge of this department. He looks pensive.
Okay, and how many colors have you got cooking, Gilberto?
So many. A lot.
Once the color blends have been created on the bobbins, those blends are cut and tied to a plastic center in preparation for braiding.
3 bobbins are used per machine, and the yarn is woven automatically to create the braid.
The bobbins are braided together around polyester filler. That filler creates a stable core to work around, so the final rug will be easier to sew.
The end result is a flat braid, which is wound into a holding barrel. These guys are braiding about 1.2 million kilometers each year.
So essentially, we can braid enough braid for a 5x8 rug in under 20 minutes.
Those braids are brought here to the machinists.
Hey!
Hi there. You know, they're given exactly 29 minutes to sew a rug.
No, need the 29. Need maybe 26. No, the same people, maybe 29, a little bit more.
Sounds like someone's angling for a raise.
I'm thinking. Fatima sews the rug from the center outwards, adding layers of braids as she sews.
To help spin the rug while they sew, the machinists use this air table.
Yeah, it's cool. It's basically like a giant air hockey table. Wow.
Holes in the surface create a cushion of air, which reduce friction to help the rug move smoothly and quickly across it.
Which makes sewing faster and playtime more fun. The finished rugs are wheeled through to packaging, where they're wrapped, labeled, and sent to homes everywhere, including Mickey's house? Really?
Our rugs are actually in Mickey Mouse's house in Disney World.
Sure, Mickey's house. But also just regular houses for regular humans to enjoy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be a downer or anything, but don't you guys think these rugs are a bit too nice to put on the floor?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Do those people have their feet on the rug? Don't you know this thing was handmade? How about a little consideration, huh?
Okay, that's it. Everyone out. Nice. and hover.
How'd you do that? Chelsea clocks. They're like regular clocks, except they're handmade. They don't take batteries and very fancy.
And even though the world's finest minds have grappled for over 400 years with the mechanics of time,
it took the home factory team less than 7 minutes to master the mechanics of clocks.
So without further ado, set your watches.
Okay, this is Chelsea Clock's 24,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Chelsea, Massachusetts. And we are go.
Meet J.K. Nicholas, CEO of Chelsea Clock.
And go figure, J.K. is a pretty time-focused guy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But being surrounded by clocks all day does have certain setbacks.
Chelsea Clock was founded just around 1897. I think it was in a garage for a few years before that, but that's when it was incorporated. We got a bell in there, right? Should we do it over? How many others are going to go off in the next 3 minutes? Because once we're through this, it's not going to go another half hour. Hold on, it's just, there we go. I knew it was coming, so why?
Okay, so with time being at a bit of a premium, I'm thinking we focus on 4 main things. The brass case, the gears, the dial, and the assembly.
Agreed. Clockmaking begins here with Bob.
My name's Bob Eaton.
Bob is making the ship's bell clock, so called because they were designed for use by sailors.
Rings every half hour because when the sailors are on the ship, they know when they were going off duty.
So first, the case. This computerized machine spins a pre-made brass cylinder, smoothing and sanding it to get it down to an 18-centimeter diameter at a depth of 10 centimeters.
And then it's drilled with holes to make it easier to hang in your home.
And voila! The brass case is complete.
The case is then sent here for cleaning.
We're gonna clean your clock.
How was that?
Ah, perfect, Bob. Yep, his name is Bob, too, which is confusing for us, but not for Bob.
Bob, and Bob.
Bob buffs the brass using this wheel, then soaks it in an ultrasonic bath.
That is a tank of liquid flooded with high-frequency sound waves, which create a scrubbing brush action within the fluid.
So it thoroughly cleans the brass and removes any imperfections.
And meanwhile, back to Bob. The clock's smaller components are created on these machines overseen by Bob. Would be the first Bob.
Automatic screw machines. They were built maybe 80 years ago, and they still went pretty good for their age. I hope I went that good at 80.
Each clock is made up of 365 parts.
You know, they're made in many ways the way that they have been for the company's history. Machines that, date back to World War II sometimes. That's pretty amazing, too.
Yeah, but with our own clock ticking away, we thought we'd home in on the gears.
The more gears you have, the longer the clock can go without being wound. So Bob is making 18 gears for the ship's bell using this hobbing machine.
Chelsea Clock prefers to cut gears, which allows for better accuracy in the finished clock.
Keep the time. Perfect time.
So with the case made and the gears cut, it's time to put on a good face. That's done by Dennis, not Bob.
I like a pretty face.
I'm a sucker for a pretty face.
First, he smooths the face using this potter's wheel, then applies a special silvering compound. Perfect.
Nothing is perfect, as we all know, but as close to perfect as we can get.
Sorry, almost perfect.
The clock is now ready to be assembled, so the dial, together with gears, and the remaining 363 parts that we didn't have time to make, are sent to be balanced and calibrated by Jeannie.
Action.
Jeannie's the master clockmaker and has worked here for 52 years.
I think by now I have the hang of it.
It's Jeannie's job to put the entire clock together, which takes about an hour per clock?
About an hour.
Really, Jeannie?
Half hour.
Okay, but the million-dollar question here is, which clock does Jeannie have at home?
The most expensive one.
Yeah, I bet that's a nice clock.
Gorgeous. Of course, it runs well because I made it.
Balanced, calibrated clocks head back downstairs to Humberto, who fixes them into their shiny brass casings and adds a gong.
Then, Umberto tests the accuracy by moving the hands in half-hour increments and listening to the chimes.
Further testing occurs for the next 7 days to make sure that each clock is absolutely perfect before it leaves the factory.
They have to be perfect. These clocks have been bought by rock royalty.
Elvis Presley, known to buy some clocks. The Grateful Dead actually purchased a bunch of clocks from us, and I'm not sure for what purpose that was.
And just royalty.
President Obama has purchased our clocks. His wife, Michelle, selected our product to bring to Europe on his first trip overseas.
That's a world-class client list. So what's it like working on a world-class clock?
It's an art, it's a craft. And you complete the clock, you know you did something great, especially when it works good. It usually does.
Okay, we're out of time, guys. Let's pack this clock up and get it out the door. These things need to be seen.
Yeah, these things also need to be wound. Hey, careful with that clock, lady. This one's handmade by Jeannie.
That's right. And there it goes, back on the mantelpiece. Phew. Ladies and gentlemen, please take a seat, for I have a remarkable story to tell you. A story starring...
The Humble Chair.
Humble? This is a legendary Emeco Navy chair, a virtually indestructible seat.
And to prove it, we're headed to Emeco's 250,000 square foot facility in Hanover, Pennsylvania.
And here to tell us all about the famous Navy chair is President and CEO of Emeco, Greg Buckbinder.
I used to surf every day. I'd surf before school, I'd surf after school. Sometimes I wouldn't go to school. You know, it's interesting. I don't know when it occurred. People, when they close their eyes and they think of a chair, they think of the Navy chair. The rumor was that the seat bottom was shaped after Betty Grable's bottom.
Hubba hubba.
The chair was designed for use on U.S. Navy ships, and it was built to last.
They had these big, burly sailors, and out at months at a time at sea would completely destroy any furniture. So they need something super strong.
These chairs begin as sheets of 80% recycled aluminum. Emeco goes through 300 sheets of aluminum in a month.
The metal is sheared into sections by this scary-looking machine with enormous teeth.
The sheets are then pressed in this seat mold, complete with Miss Grable's famous bottom.
The back legs and frame of the chair are formed by bending metal tubes into a U shape.
And the front legs are made by forming metal into squared-off tubes.
The next step is putting the whole thing together.
Emeco uses no hardware in their chairs, which means... Chair, I am your welder.
Just kidding. It's only Ralph, the lead man for the welding department.
Welding fuses metal together by melting the surfaces of the separate pieces and a metal rod, which acts like the glue. Each Navy chair has over ½ meter of weld.
Today, Ralph is welding the front legs to the seat.
Ralph, tell us why the Emeco chair is so sturdy.
Well, it's better made than anybody else.
Next, the back frame of the chair is attached to the seat by the same process.
You know, I could watch him do this all day.
Yeah, well, that's too bad, because it's time for the welds to be ground down into a smooth finish to make the chair look and feel seamless.
You can always tell the quality of a chair by the connections. There are no connections in this chair, and that's why the quality is so good.
And now that the chair is formed, it's time to harden that aluminum into place.
Which calls for a snazzy outfit.
Yeah, it's not just snazzy, it's also heat resistant, which is important because those chairs are going into a 530 degrees Celsius salt bath.
This is Wayne, the man in the hot seat at Emeco.
Hot seat, hot feet when you're standing there.
The salt bath practically melts the aluminum and realigns the molecules, making the chair into one solid piece.
The salt bath has to be covered because if any water gets in, it could cause an explosion.
So for fire start, run.
Yeah, noted. The chair is then plunged into cold water, which hardens the molten aluminum.
But the chair is still a little soft, so it can be leveled if it's not quite sitting straight.
Once the chairs are checked, they go into a 175-degree oven for 8 hours, which does the final hardening.
It makes it as hard as a mountain bike frame. So it becomes a super hard, durable chair.
After cooking, the chair heads to the Sanoflex department, where it's Francisco's job to
Make it more sexy.
Each chair is carefully brush finished by hand. Is it hard work, Francisco?
A little, not too much.
And after all that hard work, it's time for a nice hot bath.
What, for Francisco?
No, for the chairs.
Oh.
This electrically charged bath causes a chemical reaction on the surface of the chair, creating a super hard finish. The process is called anodizing.
Well, I guess it's relaxing for the chair. After their spa treatment, the chairs head to a final inspection, and then glides are attached to all the legs.
Here's a chair that's never been in style and will never go out of style.
The chairs are wrapped and boxed up to be shipped to homes across the world.
Where they can be used and enjoyed for years.
Looks comfy.
I call not doing the dishes.
Hey, not fair.